Hello and welcome to the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast. We're back with another Road to Valencia episode. It's now 5 weeks to go until Valencia, and we're going to be talking about the week of the 21st of October. As always, joined by Dan. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Tired, but that's just my constant state of
Yeah.
marathon training and yeah, dad life and work
Yeah.
life and all juggling all that. But yeah, good,
Yeah.
good week. So positive week.
Yeah, looking forward to it. As we mentioned last time, we're now really excited to be sponsored by Saw. Um, I don't know. You can't have done a running race in the UK without seeing some Saw kit. Every club seems now has a Saw vest.
Yeah, it's
Um,
everywhere these days, and like for good reason. It's just
yeah,
really nice kit, really high
yeah,
quality. Just yeah, really great stuff. We're very lucky to have we had a bit of a kit drop this week, didn't we?
yeah, yeah. Got a few
Which
things
is
each. Yeah.
so we've dug into that. What are you most looking forward to trying out, Owain?
Well, I've tried a couple of things already. We'll maybe cover that with the long run. So I've got a pair of the half tights, the marathon half tights, and they're really good so far. Like really enjoying them. I had two gels with me on Sunday when we ran. Um, I think we've been saying we're gonna. You've got a pair of the marathon split shorts as well, and we were talking about really trying to test out how much you can fit in these shorts. They both have loops on the waistband and then a really big pocket in the back. So I now have a massive Tupperware tub at uni of different size gels. So we've got 30 gram, 40 gram, and then some Precision Fuel 90-gram gels that are quite big, and we're going to see how much you can fit in the shorts and run comfortably. I mean, I had two 40-gram gels in the back pocket and perfect, like didn't feel it. So yeah, when
Yeah, and,
we
that, and that's the thing. It's hard just to find a pair of shorts to actually that even accommodate
yeah,
for enough the actual amount of gels you need to properly fuel a marathon. Like if we're talking about 90 grams an hour plus,
yeah,
we've spoken
minimum,
about
yeah,
in other
yeah,
episodes, then I that's actually works out as like six for most, depending on how long it's going to take you, like six-ish 40-gram
yeah,
gels. I
yeah,
don't know any other pair of shorts that can hold six. I'm on the
yeah,
Saw website now, and yeah, the split shorts are supposed to be four at the back and two in back pockets, and then two like on the front. They've got some like loops to put the gels through,
yeah,
and like it looks pretty good. I've worn them, really nice to wear. Gonna test them out this week with some gels, and I'll
yeah,
report back. But yeah, like previously, I've had to sew on my own loops to accommodate the extra gels I need, because I just finding actually, yeah, shorts are designed to actually hold the amount of gels you need to
yeah.
properly fuel a marathon is difficult.
Yeah, it's when we come on this podcast and we say like, yeah, you need to be basically shoveling gels in your mouth. Or if you're lucky enough to have drinks, then that's a different thing. But you need a serious amount of carbohydrate. Like you probably can't consume enough really during a marathon. So it's nice where there's some kit that's been designed with that sort of in mind, with actually helping to solve a problem that is a real part of marathon performance, isn't it? Like, yeah, I don't think there's many people out there that can honestly say they've taken enough carbohydrate during a marathon. And it's nice for some kit to sort of help address that
Yeah,
challenge. Yeah,
yeah. But we'll give that a review maybe in next week's episode.
yeah,
Hopefully, yeah, got some good sessions planned to test it out this week. So
yeah.
yeah, I'll report back. But yeah, go check out Saw. Really good stuff.
Yep.
Should we dig
Let's
into our
let's do it.
into this
Yeah,
week?
21st of
Nice.
October, Monday morning.
Monday morning. So actually, I have a day off Monday. Well, I always have a day off on Monday. I don't work Mondays, but normally I have my son. I have Nye, and we have a nice dad and boy day. But I'd worked weekends, so I had to put him into nursery, and I had a day to catch up my coaching and have a bit more time to train, and it was very pleasant. I'm recording two podcasts as well, so actually it
Yep.
wasn't exactly a restful day. Packed it in, but yeah, started off, headed out on my trails, did 16k, 10 miles on my trails, slow pace, 4:37 a k, but again, quite a bit of climbing in there. So that was really fun. Afternoon, snuck in 10k, 4:14 a k, and finished with some strides. I say strides. I did 4 times 15 seconds, like 2 minutes recovery. I mean, not strides. I was trying to run them as hard as I could, basically, just to get a bit of mechanical stimulus. And I feel like I always need a bit of that. And there's so much good science on on sit training, sprint interval training. So doing stuff above VO2 max, like you don't need loads of it, I don't think, but in terms of like mitochondrial efficiency, yeah, there's some quite good evidence there. So did a bit of that in, and I have been trying to include that pretty frequently this year. But yeah, I did that. That was Monday. Good solid day of training. Tuesday. So Tuesday I guess it was my first like marathon specific session in terms of trying to run at marathon-ish pace plus get a good volume of work in too. So I did 8 times 3k off 1k steady, which adds up to 32k total, or 20 miles, just shy of. And a bit apprehensive about this session because I knew I had to get up early, get this done. So I thought, right, I'm going to go to bed. Monday night, I'm going to go to bed at 10. Always go to bed at 10. Now I decided to wake up. Lots of drama. Go to bed at 11. He's up again at 1. He's up again at 4. I got up at 5:30. So I didn't have high expectations for a session. Started it at 20 to 7 in the morning. Had a head torch on for the start. I was doing a Butte Park mile loop. Great loop. It's where the podium 5k is. So super fast.
The place to train in Cardiff.
Yeah, but actually started running, felt pretty good. And yeah, I was really happy with the session. Ran the 3Ks and then and an average about 3:14 a k. I can go through 3:13, 3:12, 3:13, 3:15, 3:16, 3:14, 3:14, 3:14 a k. And then the floats were all in about 3:30 down to 3:27-ish. Yeah, and I ended up like 32k at 3:18 a k pace, which is like 5:18 a mile, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty happy with that. Pretty solid. Heart rates were good. I guess the argument could be like, why? I think like if I was a listener, I'd go, well, 3:14 a k is great, Dan, but why didn't you run at 3:08 a k? Because that's 2:12:30 pace. And I was really going off of. I think if I tried to do that, I wouldn't have got through the session. I'm not in that shape on that day to go run that sort of pace. So I was going off of heart rate, and I know that in the first half of a marathon, the first like 30k of a marathon, I'm under 1:65. So I was trying to keep under 1:65, which I did. Ended up with an average of 161 for the whole session. Getting up at the end, obviously, I think I maxed it, get up to about 170. But yeah, pretty happy, pretty solid.
Yeah. So 2 questions. One from me. If we're breaking down, if we're saying, or if you go back and listen to our episode about the physiology of the marathon, and we talked about the 3 components and then the durability as well. If this is this session targeting one of those predominantly? I know in reality it will probably help every component of your physiology, but is there any sort of thought like, oh, this is more towards my economy or durability, or?
Yeah, I think it's more of a durability type type work, but and certainly like in my head when I was planning it, like that was what I'm going about, like actually running 20 miles not that far off marathon pace, 32k, just not that far off marathon pace, quite a bit of work at not the pace I want to run at, but the specific intensity of a marathon. So yeah, like there's definitely like some drift. Like the 3Ks were pretty even, but like the heart rate is obviously drifting up a little bit, so I'm targeting that durability. But then like I actually looked at the session afterwards and I did 90 minutes in like zone 3 or between LT1 and LT2 heart rate, so that's got to be a pretty big threshold stimulus as well, even if the pace isn't quite as high as if I was doing what you'd probably classify as a threshold session, like doing 6-minute reps or 5-minute reps or whatever. Like,
Then you
just
don't need
because
to be right on like a threshold like heart rate or pace, do you, to actually be still working that?
Oh yeah, I think I'd been a pretty, I would have averaged at a pretty high percentage of my VO2 max, enough to, well, like you said, probably stimulate everything, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think probably more thresholds and durability. But yeah.
So that was my question, and then we had a good question on your Strava from Thomas Aldridge. So you mentioned in your description on Strava that you were having 120 grams an hour of carbs, which is like obviously really good. If you can do that during the marathon, like we said, that would be good. You probably can't take in enough carbs during the marathon anyway, but that's better than many people. But Thomas was asking, what sort of food intake do you have before a session like this or before a long run? Because there's during exercise sort of carbohydrate intake, but you can, and most people do, eat before as well. So yeah.
I mean, I'll start with the fueling, because I didn't mention that. But yeah, I hit 120 grams an hour, which was a bit of an accident because I was just doing my maths on my way in, and it's obviously very early. And I was thinking, I'm sure I normally take a gel every 6K, every 4 miles. And then so I thought, oh yeah, I'll just do that again. Then actually worked it out afterwards, and I was like, ah, crap, no, that was way more. And I worked earlier. I remembered actually it's every 5 miles, 8K, I normally take a gel. So actually, but then I only realized that retrospectively when I was calculating it, thinking, oh, I wonder what I did intake. And yeah, took 120 grams an hour in and felt fine. I didn't take the last gel with like 2K to go. So maybe it's slightly less than 120. But another 2K, what, 6.5 minutes of running, whatever, like, doesn't make much of a difference. Like, for most of it was at a rate of 120 grams an hour. But yeah, tolerated that pretty well. So I think I will try and keep pushing that, and hopefully if I can get that in the marathon, maybe that'll make a little bit of a difference. Like you said, more is going to be better as long as you can tolerate it, I'd expect.
Yeah, as long as you can tolerate it and your wallet can tolerate it, like that's the drawbacks, right? Like there is no reason to not try and push it higher. Is there? So
yeah, I've just put in a big order of I think it's a pack of 30 of gels, because I'm down to my last 2, which is not ideal. But yeah, I'm just putting an order for them. SIS beta fuel is what I used, which are nice. They are 40 grams in each gel, which I think is good. And then a mix of glucose fructose, which is what you want. Or it might be multidextrin and fructose, but it's all the same thing basically. Doesn't really matter. And then in terms of like what I ate beforehand, don't often actually eat before these sessions. Like if I'll have a cup of tea and a travel flask on my way in. Get a bit of caffeine in, and yeah, I might eat like a biscuit. This is not like high quality nutrition, but to be honest, like I don't. If I had more time, if I was going to do a session at 9 o'clock, I would eat something. But I'm more worried about actually fueling the day before these sessions. Because to be honest, like what you want is like full muscle glycogen stores, and you're not going to ram loads of carbs in your system and get that into your muscle if you have that at 6 o'clock and then you start your session at 7, for example. So actually the day before, I'm really concentrating on getting a high carb diet, especially in the evening meal before, but also just refueling after the runs I do on the previous day. So that's really important.
There's not enough of a time frame when you're already time constricted, is there, to like you say, get muscle glycogen stores full, but also liver glycogen, like.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like that was my next one. Was actually like the only what you like, and once muscle glycogen is stocked up, you're not going to use that overnight. Not really. You're not going to tap into those stores. It's pretty much locked in your muscle. So the only thing that can use that glycogen is the muscle, and you're not obviously doing any activity whilst you're sleeping. There might be a little bit of carbohydrate oxidation, but it's going to be pretty minimal compared to compared to exercise. But what will have gone down is your liver glycogen. And it might have dropped by 50% overnight, like that sort of ballpark. And I can't remember off the top of my head what sort of how many grams of carbs are stored in your liver, but it's a good chunk. Like I think it's like I want to say like 500 calories worth, which which might be a little bit off, but that's the sort of ballpark I'm pretty sure it's that sort of range. And you're only going to deplete like 50% of it. You're not going to completely empty that overnight.
Yeah.
So if you do take anything in, that's what you want to get in. And like on a marathon morning as well, I don't have a massive breakfast because all I need to do is top up that liver glycogen. And the liver loves fructose, so anything like which is fructose, so fructose basically sugar from fruits. Anything with that in is good for restocking liver glycogen, so like orange juice or something like that in the morning, which is something I might sometimes have because that's easily digestible. It's not going to be sitting there in my stomach. But yeah, I think if I eat anything, it might be like half a piece of toast or something like that. I'm not eating much before these sessions. And I think I guess like
there's going to be like a individual response as well. Like I know if I eat within like 90 minutes before I start running, I just get a really bad hypo. So it's like it's not optimal if I don't eat before a long run, but it's really not optimal acutely if I'm starting a run. Like I've started runs and like had to have a gel 2k in because I'm just and the gel probably isn't helping, but like mentally it's helping. You don't want that, do you? So
and then just to like go into that a bit more, like Jemima, my wife, she's awful. She's really sensitive to that. So if she eats something really sugary and then goes out for a run straight away, she's got a massive insulin response. And then you don't want that when you're exercising because that's just pulling all the blood glucose out of the blood, and it's going to give you that no glucose in the brain, that feeling of I'm go shaky, a bit wobbly, and it's a pretty horrible feeling, like you've hit the wall, but actually you've got plenty of energy in the system. It's just that your blood glucose is tanking. The other thing is like it's going to be individual. Some people really can't handle not fueling, but I do try and fuel before a long run if it's not like first thing, but at the same time I know I can get away with not doing it. Like I reckon I could run a marathon in 2:20, 2:19 when I'm fit without taking on anything. Like my first marathon, I ran 2:27, blew up massively. I was on 2:20 pace, ended up running 2:27, and I wasn't fit either. I'd not trained for like 3 weeks before I'd been ill, but I didn't take anything on during that marathon, which is obviously stupid. But like I was young then. But I ran 2:27 then, completely blowing up, pacing it really badly, without taking anything on. So I think now, like, I'm pretty sure I've gone and run a two. Like, I think even like in that Berlin where I ran 2:25, I think I only took on 2 gels there, just because I was concentrating on taking the split, working out the splits and the pacing rather than my own nutrition. I had plenty of gels with me. I just didn't take them. I think it definitely helps. You don't want to get yourself in too much of a hole afterwards. I think it recovers if you're going to not eat beforehand and then do a massive session which you didn't fuel during it either. And if I hadn't had breakfast, then did that session but didn't take any carbs on, I'd be in a bit of a state, I think, at the end of it, and it would take me a long time to recover. But if I'm taking on so much carbs during the run, I don't think it's essential if I have breakfast or not.
So I guess in this instance where the intensity is really high, then having carbs during is ideal for sort of the performance and the recovery. But then like when we come to your long run at the weekend, like the relative intensity was fairly low, and you could almost argue that actually not having anything before, and then like I'm 99% sure you didn't take a gel when we were running. We mentioned during the durability episode that there's some thought that maybe doing some, I don't want to say fasted because it like
lower
group of people
lower
whole identity is about that, but that might help with durability. So there's so many things to balance, isn't there? And especially where we don't exactly know.
For me, it is
what works.
For me, it's a practical thing. Like if I'm not going to get up at 5 to eat and then train like at 5:30, 7, like which is what I'd have to do to tolerate it. If I was training at 9 or 10, I would eat breakfast beforehand, because it is, when you're doing so much mileage, just you don't want to get yourself into any sort of glycogen hole, because it's just hard to get out of. Because your glycogen levels are never going to be completely full if you're doing like really high volumes of training. It's just really hard. So you don't want to end up in a bit of a deficit, because it's just going to take you a long time to get out of that deficit. But like I said, actually, whether I took in like 300 calories at breakfast or 100 grams of carbs or whatever, probably doesn't matter too much, considering I took on 240 grams, getting on 200 grams of carbs basically during that run. Like, that's what 200 grams of carbs is going to be, 800 calories, right? Yeah. It's a lot of calories, isn't it, during a run?
Yeah.
1 gram is 4 calories of carbohydrate. Yeah. So if I took on 200 grams, that's 800 calories during a run. But I would have burned about 2,000 calories. So roughly. So you're still in a big deficit. But yeah, that was Tuesday. I know it's not Tuesday.
I was gonna say, I hope that answers your question, Thomas.
yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah. So that was 22nd. Yes, that was Tuesday. Didn't double in the evening. I didn't think I needed to double after doing. By the time I warmed up and cooled down, that was 32, 34, 35 and a half K of running. So yeah, that was Tuesday. Wednesday, 16K, 10 miles in the morning. Late afternoon, mid-afternoon, got out for 10K and then did a bit of gym work afterwards. I was a bit tired for the gym. I reduced the weight a little bit. I think I was over pushing it on the squats last time. My technique was starting to fall apart. So I had done, I think, 4 sets of 5 times 80 a week the week prior, but dropped back to 75 and just felt like I was moving better. But calf capacity seems to be going up, which is great. But yeah, nothing really spectacular to report there. That brings us to Thursday. So that's again, you can see, but by now you probably realize I have a bit of routine, but I like doing 16K 10-mile runs. So morning, 6 a.m, 16K 10 miles, 70 minutes. Afternoon, I did 11K, which it was going to be 10K. I just misjudged the loop a little bit, so I got a bit of extra volume in there. And then that brings us to Friday, which was this next, the second session of the week, which so I went on my treadmill. I would have liked to go on the track. I sort of had the intention that maybe if the track was open, I would go on it, but got to Cardiff Met and realized actually these days it's pitch black at 7 o'clock still. So even if the track had been open, I'd have not been able to run around it. So it was treadmill.
I think the weather was pretty awful as well.
It was better than well, I had it in my head. I was thinking, I'll go on my treadmill probably because the weather looks bad. It actually wasn't that bad, but anyway, went on my treadmill. I guess I did 3 by 10 minutes, 3 by 6 minutes, 6 by 3 minutes. But I think before we get into that, the interesting thing about this session was I tried bicarb for the first time before it. And I'm going to give a shout out to the actual company. I didn't use the Morphin bicarb system. I used the confusingly named bicarb. I don't know how you bi brackets CARR brackets B. Which
that's really confusing. That's well confusing.
I know. It's just bicarb, but with brackets in it. But this is a UK based company. I think a bit of a startup, but it's made by runners, Jack Gray and who's the other guy? It's Jack Gray and somebody, isn't it? But they're based in Cambridge. They're really good runners. Jack Gray's run like 28:30 for 10K. And I think they're a bit entrepreneurial, and they've basically made their own bicarb system, which is bicarbonate soda mixed with a hydro gel, just like the Morton stuff. You mix it up yourself, but it's a lot cheaper. Which was one of the it was for 6. I can't remember how much it was, but you can find, if you search Google them, you'll find it. It was 6. Here we go. I got a pack of 6 for 30 quid, which can't remember how much
Morton's £15 a serving.
Yeah,
so this is a third of the price.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper. And I thought, you know what, I'll give that a go for 30 quid. I'll give that a go. And yeah, I think because after we talked about the bicarb for in that supplements podcast we did, I'd sort of been umming and ahhing about using it during the marathon. So this was, for me, this was a test of not really much about does it affect performance, but is it tolerable? So great to be in a lab where you got a loo like right next door, which was a good reason for doing it on the treadmill. But yeah, we'll do you think we should dig into a bit more about like how bicarb should help, just as a recap before?
Yeah, I mean, there's some questions in your Strava, so I think
because I mean, how the idea that how bicarb works is that we have a natural like bicarbonate buffer in our blood anyway. So your body really wants to regulate pH. If your pH goes too high or too low, it's going to cause like devastation for all the enzymes in your body. Like everything's going to shut down. So it's really tightly regulated. So we have a natural bicarb buffer in our blood anyway, and we're just looking to boost that by taking in some sodium bicarbonate. So the sodium is going to dissociate from the bicarb. That's going to get into your bloodstream, and that's going to help increase the buffering capacity of your blood. And why is that good? It's good because actually, if you get hydrogen ions, the acidity basically out of your muscle into the blood, it's not going to cause fatigue in the blood. So having high acidity in your blood, as long as it's within, as long as it's buffered by this bicarb system, is fine within a reasonable limit. But in the muscle is where it's going to cause fatigue. So what happens is if you increase that bicarb buffer, then you can effectively pull the hydrogen ions out of the muscle. There's a bigger concentration gradient from which to go out of the muscle into the blood, and so you actually can maintain the pH of your blood by having a better buffer, but actually within your muscle, the acidity will be less effectively. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's quite a hard thing to explain, I think.
I mean, then I think the follow-up then that again comes up in your Strava comments is that then you actually will see a higher lactate reading if you're taking lactate measurements. I mean, exactly. We've seen this before where we've done some stuff with some sprinters, right? Like they used it for a session and their lactate levels were, where in your case, we're talking like high 3s, low 4s. This was like, I think we saw 27, didn't we?
For 27 to 25 or something at least.
Yeah, but it's pretty high.
Yeah.
But that was substantially higher than it was when they didn't use it. So
yeah. So importantly, the lactate will be higher, but the pH will be the same because you're buffering that hydrogen ion. So the lactate is obviously still in the system, but the hydrogen ions are combining with the bicarbonate to produce CO2 and water. So actually, if you're seeing high lactate, that's a good sign that the bicarb is working, because you wouldn't have those lactate levels if there was no extra bicarb in the blood. You wouldn't see the elevated lactate levels. I guess the next part is you should, in theory, I would say it's only going to affect performance once you get past your lactate turn point LT2, because that's when you're going to start to see a dysregulation of pH, increase in acidity. So is that important in a marathon? Well, I think it could be if you pace it well and you fueled it well and you really are going above your threshold in the last stages. And I've certainly felt like I'm above my LT2 in the last like 10k of a marathon if I paced it well. In the last few I have, and my heart rate would suggest I'm above my LT2. Like my LT2 heart rate is 170. I'm going to be above 170 for the last 10k. And there's a few factors there that you could probably have more drift in heart rate than VO2 because of dehydration and things like that. But like my heart rate can nearly be at max at the end of a marathon if I'm really, really going for it. And I think there's definitely going to be some lactate produced, some acidity produced. So I think that it has got potential in a faster marathon runner who's paced it well and fueled it well.
I mean, anecdotally, like we're seeing, it's being used in cycling that's up to like 6 hours, 8 hours maybe for some of the really long cycling events. For 5-6 hours. Like they're using it. Obviously, the physiological demands of a cycling race are slightly different. You know, it's low intensity and then some high intensity, but
Yeah, it's more
it's being used up
stochastic, isn't
hours
it?
there. And then I mean, I'm worth giving a shout out. The Science and Sport podcast, their interview with David Roach, is really interesting. And he set the record at Leadville 100-mile race, and he used bicarb before that. He talks about it on the podcast using it. And then, yeah, again, something they mentioned on that, like Killian Jornet's used it at UTMB. And I
It's
think
hard
it's
to
one of
know
these
though,
things.
because some of these people are sponsored by Morton,
Yeah,
aren't they? And you go, well,
yeah,
you know, you're using it, but do you actually think it helps? I know that Kelvin Kiptum used it when he broke the marathon world record.
yeah,
So, you know, there's a few anecdotes there. But I guess the first one is like, for me, like in this test today was, is my stomach going to cope with it? Because that's what happens with bicarb if you get it wrong. Or before this these hydrogel systems came along, that's what you would get. You would basically throw up or have to run off to the loo pretty quickly after your race. So for a marathon, it definitely wouldn't be feasible.
yeah.
But actually, I'm glad to report that I had no issues at all using this bicarb system. So that was great. Took that like an hour before I started. So I'll go through the paces. I meant to actually calculate the minute Ks, minute miles, but I've got it in kilometers an hour because obviously I'm on the treadmill and that's what it's set at. But yeah, 3 by 10 minutes. First one 18.7 k an hour, which actually I know all these anyway. So 18.7 k an hour is that's my marathon PB pace at 2:15. So that's 5:10 a mile, 3:12 a k. Wanted to ease in a little bit to the session. That felt pretty fine. Lactate was 3.2 afterwards, but as we said, like the lactate is going to be higher because of the bicarb. So I wasn't too worried about that. And then I ran the next two at 19.1. So yeah, 10 minutes at 18.7, then 10 minutes at 19.1, 10 minutes at 19.1. Lactates were 4.1 and 4.6. 19.1 is 308 a k, yeah, or 503 a mile. Then I did 3 times 6 minutes, all of them at 19.5, which is
304.
304 or 457 a mile, 458 a mile, something like that. But lactate's 3.8, 3.6, 3.6. So that was great, really stable. And I think that's the thing, like that's what a misconception of lactates, I think, is people get too hung up on the absolute values when you should actually just look at the trend over time. Like the lactates are really stable, like they're not drifting up and up and up, which is what you see if you're above your LT2. Like it's just going to go, every rep is just going to get a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. That's not what I've seen here. Like they're 3.8, 3.6, 3.6. Like that's really nice and stable. So that was great. Then I did 6 by 3 minutes. Did the first two at 20. Lactate was 4.4. 20 is obviously 3 minute Ks, 450 a mile. The next two at 20.3, which is 257 a K.
Yep.
Yeah. 4.1, that was 4.6. So that was great. Still really stable. Then the last two, I thought, right, I've got this bicarb in my system. Let's push it a little bit. So I went 20.6 for the last two, which is 254, which is getting down to probably a little bit. Well, it's probably, I reckon, what I could run for 10k ish. I got me up to 6 millimole of lactate. It was just starting to bite a bit. Heart rate was going past LT2 for that. But yeah, I think it was like just for me, the session, that was like the best session I've done. And like since having like those 3 days off being ill, every session has just got better and better and better. Like that long run, the 8 by 3k I did was the best I'd done at the sessions before. And that I feel like this one was a step on again. Like LT2 for me looks like it's over 19.5 now, judging by like how stable my lactates were at 19.5. And even like I honestly didn't feel out of control, or like until I was past LT2, until I was doing those 20.6s at the end, like 254s. Obviously 3 minutes is more tolerable than doing 6 minutes or 10 minutes. So actually those 20.3 k an hour at 257, like that's not, if I was doing that for 6 minutes, I think my lactate would start to build a bit, but for 3 minutes it felt very tolerable. So yeah, I think takeaways from that session were really happy with fitness. That's definitely moving in the right direction. Bicarb was really tolerable. I did feel like it's not really the sort of session, like I said, to assess whether it influence performance or not, because I haven't done like this without bicarb, so I can't directly compare. And I think you'd want to do something a bit more above LT2, above threshold to really see if you could notice any differences.
Yeah.
I say that the 20.6 felt really good still, and that was, I mean, it ended up being 66 minutes of running at I did work out the average. It was over, I did 21.4k, I think it was, in 66 minutes. So it was 66 minutes of work at well, probably like 65 half marathon pace. So that was pretty positive.
I guess with bicarb as well, like as well as determining if you think it's gonna actually impact your marathon performance, you still got a bit of like dialing in to do in terms of the timing. I think that's quite a big piece of bicarb, isn't it? The timing of when you actually take it before.
Yeah.
Figuring that out.
Yeah.
In addition to the sort of the problem where we don't 100% know how it works. Well, I guess we do know how it works in terms of
We've got pretty good
high intensity, but then longer durations and lower intensity, we don't really know. So then you also don't know if there's going to be a drawback to it, right? So then there's a few things to figure out, and like we said at the top of the show, we're 5 weeks out.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be tricky, to be honest, because that was I knew going in that this wasn't really a performance. This wasn't a test of does it affect performance. This was a test of tolerance for me. Like, am I going to tolerate it? Is my GI system going to tolerate it? And like I said, seemed fine. Took an hour before. I think the instructions said actually take it 2 hours before, but I wasn't going to get up any earlier.
I have 90 minutes in my head for like what people end up doing, but it's intention, isn't it?
Yeah. So I took it an hour before, and that seemed okay. But then it's like, how long is it actually going to stay in your system? I'm looking at the lactates. I'm suggesting that it was still in the system an hour and a half later, because 2.5 hours after I took it, because my lactate levels are still much higher than I'd expect with the heart rate and the pace, even at those 20.6s at the end of the 3-minute reps. So
I mean, I'm sure there's probably data out there about like what the half-life of bicarb is, but then does the hydrogel affect that? Does exercise
it's going to affect
that?
Like, I think, I think it is. But the problem is, the point where I think bicarb is going to be effective in a marathon, like we've said, is going to be the last 10k when you're going above LT2. I'm not going to be doing that in training. I'm not going to do any sessions where I've done, I'll do some sessions above LT2, obviously. Well, a little bit above LT2, but I'm not going to do it after already having done 30k of running. So you can't really test it that well, like, because otherwise I basically have to run a marathon in training to replicate the conditions where bicarb might actually be effective. So I think doing it on something like the session I did on Tuesday would be a good first step. And if that's tolerable, I mean, if it's tolerable and I'm not having any side effects, then I guess it's probably worth the risk. Like, the theory is there, but you never. It's one of those ones where don't you? Like, and at the minute I'm leaning towards I probably will, but I am going to use it a few more times in training to make sure A, I don't have any GI distress, and then B, if I'm doing some shorter stuff where I'm feeling that it's not making a difference when I'm working above LT2, then I will maybe not use it. But it's a risk reward, isn't it? It's a bit of a risk because there are known GI distress symptoms with taking bicarb. But if I do 3 or 4 other sessions and don't have any symptoms, then I'll probably give it a go.
Need some more testing, I think.
Yeah. But we'll see. And this is like very much going from like N of 1 case study rather than like a proper scientific experiment.
N of 1 with a quite limited time frame of this is fairly typical in the sports science world.
I think there's always a bit of calculated risks, aren't there?
Last minute.
But No, really happy for that session though. I got an hour. I think it was like 55 minutes or something of time in that LT1 to LT2. So it was a big week of zone 3 work. Like 2.5. What was that? So 50 minutes, hour and a half. Yeah, well over 2 hours of running in that middle zone. So I hope that had a good effect on threshold. I think the threshold's moving in the right direction. So
Nice,
that was
nice
really,
pyramidal training week.
yeah, and like that's most of my training, to be honest. It was nice
Probably
to actually
best
just do.
marathon as well.
Yeah, like I did those like 3 minutes, or like they were effectively K reps, at the end in 254s. There's no reason why I need to go and run any faster than 254 a K
Yeah.
in training. If I want to go and race a marathon at 308s, that's plenty fast enough. I don't think if it's a bit different. I guess we said about even now, if I thought the VO2 max was my limiter, I wouldn't be doing a load of VO2 work because it's not directly related to the marathon, is it? It's going to have not too much of an effect, I don't think.
No, and you would have done substantially less like work and volume if you'd done anything sort of higher intensity anyway, wouldn't you? Like you wouldn't have an hour's worth of session. It would be
because like this is very much a just an extension of previous sessions I've done. Like that's probably the biggest like threshold session I've done, like 66 minutes of running. Basically marathon down to 10k pace, really. It's good. I mean, the whole bloody session took me an hour and 45 without doing a cool down. So that was including warm up and no cool down. That was separate. I did that outside. I'd had enough being on the lab treadmill by then. But yeah, 3k cool down. We'll move on from that one. So yeah, big morning. Did 10k in the evening on my treadmill at home. So yeah, nice day of treadmill running. Saturday, I went on my trails again. I had a couple of hours where Jemima and I were off picking a pumpkin for Halloween. So I took the opportunity to go on my trails, did 21k. It was one of those ones where I was expecting to feel horrendous after the day before. Legs felt pretty good. It was a beautiful day. This is not sport science at all. It was just my appreciation of the run. It was just a beautiful run. And I thought, right, I'm gonna go out on the trails. And I live in the Welsh valleys. It was just like stunning. I was running on like the side of one of the valleys, like halfway up, and all along the bottom of the valley, it was just like mist. So it looked like you were running along by the ocean. And then when I sort of did like an out and back, but went out like halfway up the valley and then came back along the crests, and it was just stunning. I could see over to the southwest of England, so Bristol and what's over there? Cleveland, isn't it? Cleveland, that's it. Yeah, and it was just like not a cloud in the sky, just beautiful. And it was one of those where you just think, running's the best. I just loved it, but ended up doing a bit too much because of all the climbing and whatever. Like it was 21k, which isn't that far, but it took me an hour 43. So it was 500 meters of climbing in there. But it was worth it. It was just really nice. Did a bit of home gym stuff afterwards. Couldn't get to the gym, without like ruining a family day completely. So did a bit of stuff at home. Got a 20 kilo kettlebell that's at home, and that's enough for me to do load the system a bit. Did some split squats. Like we were talking about like last week. I was inspired by your suggestion there to do some split squats with a 20 kilo kettlebell. Some single leg calf raises, and I didn't do that much. I was pretty tired. I had to do it like literally straight after the run, but I did 25 minutes or something of something, and that's the first time I've actually done any sort of S&C twice in a week this block, so I felt like it was better than doing nothing. That was Saturday. Didn't double, didn't feel like I needed to. And then Sunday I went for a run with a nice chap, my podcast host here. We had 28k, 416 a k, 2 hours basically, wasn't it? 2 hours. Nice and flat. Nice and chilled.
Chilled except when I fell over, but
Oh yeah. Oh, I nearly ripped up his new Saw shorts by like stacking it going around a corner. I don't know how you did it, but you did. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, in terms of like what that was 204k for the week, which is 14 hours, 20 minutes of running. It worked out as, I think it was nearly 127 miles, just shy of 127 miles, which was a bit of a step forward on last week. Pretty much as high as I've ever gone, really. I think I've done the odd week. I think I've done like 1 or 2 weeks, maybe higher or about the same. But yeah, that was really pushing my volume out. But felt like it actually didn't feel ruined the whole time, which was a good sign. I think if you're doing if you're in a marathon block, if you're feeling, you're gonna feel tired. But if you're feeling like just every run is a complete like dragging yourself out the door, then you're probably doing too much, and didn't feel like that. So that was positive. Yeah, and got actually really high volume of intensity in as well. So yeah, good week. We'll see if I can tolerate another couple of weeks of that, and it's into a taper, I guess.
Yeah, no, decent week.
Yeah,
Yeah, worthwhile. I think we've gone a bit more in depth than we normally would, but I think worthwhile with that week, because that's that's probably like we said at the start, 5 weeks to go. Not actually many of those weeks left.
no, I think in my head it's that's if I'd have done 180k, 204k, with two good sessions in there. If I can get another just 5 weeks to go, get another 3 weeks of that in, and start backing it off. But I think the taper is very much when you start tapering is down to how you're feeling. Like if you're tolerating the load really well, then I will sometimes push like the properly tapering until like 10 days out. But we've got a lot of time. I'm trying not to think too much about that. Yeah, I'm just trying to like take each week as it comes.
Yeah.
Not worry about. I'm not start counting down. Just trying to tick off the training.
Yeah.
It's not worth getting stressed out about it, is it? Just do what I can.
I guess I mean, maybe something for us to sort of bring along next time. It'd be good to actually, you mentioned sort of the time in like zones. Maybe next week we should prepare that data, just because that's gonna the long run at the weekend, for me it was like top of my zone 2, but for you that was a fairly easy intensity. And I guess part of the decision making for that would have been that actually you've got, if you look at your distribution in different zones, there's going to be a lot in that, like we said, that sort of zone 3 zone, and you don't really need to then push the long run as well. You've sort of done enough for the week. You've ticked that physiological box of the week, right? And you just need some time on feet. And
yeah, exactly. I think it's just an excuse to get some more volume in. Like that doesn't, for me, like 2 hours at 4:20 a k, 7-minute mile pace, or it was just a little bit faster than that, wasn't it? Like if I can run, even if I was running a marathon at 2:15, like it's just it's so easy compared to doing that. It's not much of a stress on my body.
And then coming back to earlier, you don't need to eat beforehand. Like we said, you didn't take a gel during. Like,
I didn't take a gel. Yeah, I guess we didn't say that. We set that up, didn't we? But no, I didn't take any gels during. I did a half a bagel before we started, actually. I was just hungry. And I thought, you know what? I think because the intensity is lower as well, you can tolerate it a bit better. If I was going to go and try and run, I eat something, and then we went reasonably early still, didn't we? It was like 7:30 in the morning. But time change, I guess it was only 7:30, wasn't it, really? But we were both knackered. We were both tired and wanted to try and get as much sleep as we could. But you had work, and I had a boy to look after. So yeah, I was seeing if I could quickly put it up, but Training Peaks on my phone is a bit rubbish for looking at the actual data. Next time,
I think we'll bring it next time, right? Like, I think it's just just where you're sort of planning, not necessarily on the fly, but you're sort of responding acutely to what you've done in the last few days in terms of how you take the long run. This past week there's no need for you to push it, right? But maybe next week or the week after, you decide, actually I'm gonna push this long run or do some sort of quality work within the long run, just to again tick those physiological boxes we were sort of talking about on the previous episodes.
I mean, like Tuesday was a long run, really. Like it was
Yeah,
continuous
yeah,
running. I did 20 miles, 32K.
yeah. You actually ran longer on Tuesday than you did on Sunday. So
Yeah. So, well, yeah, longer in terms of distance. We're pretty similar in
yeah,
terms of
that's
time
fine.
with the warm up and cool down. But yeah, yeah, but yeah, I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah,
We'll wrap
solid
that
week.
up.
Yeah, nice.
Wrap it up there. Yep.
Yes, drop us a question in Dan's Strava or the Google Forms link. We'll put it in the notes. But yeah, no, hopefully everyone enjoyed. Nice deep dive and yeah, big week, so bigger episode. But yeah, nice. We'll chat again next week.
Yep. Cheers,
See
Owain.
you soon.